Hello and welcome to My Fusion Helper. My name is Troy Broussard, and in this short video we're going to talk about the email validated helper. Now this helper is brand new into the app and used to not just check the syntax of an email and make sure it has an @ sign and that kind of stuff, but this actually is a live API connection that will go out, query the email, and validate it against the servers through an external API. So I'm going to show you how to set this up and how to configure it and how to get things rolling so that you can use this in your app. And then we're also going to do kind of a live demo of how to set it up in Infusionsoft, and we'll talk about how it works in the best practices for you to use in your application as well. All right, so if we look at how to do this, when you go and create the email validated helper, the first thing that you're going to be brought up to is a screen asking you to enter in your public and secret API keys for a service called Mailgun. Now, Mailgun is provided by Rackspace, and Rackspace is a highly respected industry company that has been around for years and years and years. So this is a very solid API, and there's absolutely no cost to do this, okay? You do need to connect your own account. If we ran all of yours through our account, that would be a violation of their terms of service, but you are able to create your own account and then connect it up. So I'm going to show you how to do that, and you'll see the green link there on the screen that says public and private API key from your Mailgun control panel. Where that's highlighted, you just click there and it will take you to the next screen for a login for Mailgun. Now, you're not going to be able to log in yet because you don't have an account. So if you just go to the bottom there where you see it says need an account, sign up here, and click on that link, then you're going to be brought to this next screen where you're just going to go ahead and fill it out. It only takes a minute. You're just going to give it a name, an email, confirm your password, and you don't need to put any payment information because you're not going to set it up to pay anything. Okay, it's just a free account. They do have the ability to set up a paid account and do things, but you're not going to need that. Okay, so just don't even bother to fill that out and just leave that alone. It's optional. It's not necessary. You're entitled to a free account per their terms of service, and we're not doing anything to violate that, so you're good to go. All right, so now what you're going to do is after you've done and set up your account, you're going to be taken into a screen like this, and it's a little hard to find, so let me show you what you do. On this screen, you're going to scroll down, okay? See that section on the right that says API keys? That's where we're going to go next. And now as I zoom in here, you can see this a little bit better. You'll see that there's a public API key and a secret API key. Those are the two keys that we need you to paste into My Fusion Helper. Now make sure and click the little I button on the right hand side to be able to view those, and then you can simply copy and paste them and configure them into My Fusion Helper. Those are the two keys that you need to configure it. It's very, very straightforward. Once you have that, everything is set up and there's nothing else that you need to do. Okay, so now let's hop over to the app into My Fusion Helper and show you how to set this up inside of the app once you've connected it. So we're going to go in here and use our email validate it, type that in and pull it up. Okay, and it'll give you a little bit of information here, and then we're just going to go ahead and name it. So we're going to email validate it, okay, and go ahead and configure. So we'll go ahead and do that. And now what you're going to see is that we select our Mailgun account. Okay, so I'm scrolling down there. We'll select the one that I just set up. We'll select an email that we want to validate against. Okay, so normally that's just going to be email. Now here's some different options that you can choose. Now you do not have to use these tags if you don't want. We also fire off API goals, so you can just choose to ignore these tags and use the API goals instead, or if you want to tag them, that's fine. So I'm just going to say that we're going to use API goals for all of these, but you could easily select the tag that you wanted here. And let me just kind of walk you through the different scenarios. We have a valid and an invalid. So if you want to tag people that are valid, you can do that. If you want to tag people that are invalid, you can do that, or either one, you can use the API goals. Now, this next one is a little bit more interesting. And, this is to tag someone if a suggestion is present. So what happens is people make typos all the time. So instead of typing gmail.com, they'll type gmail.co, or they'll type gmall.com. They'll forget the I and they'll type gmall.com, right? Things like that. Well, this Mailgun integration is capable of detecting minor typos and things like that and making a suggestion. And if you want to tag the contacts that suggestions are available for, you can do that. And then we can save that suggestion into a custom field. Lastly, we can even automatically update the email to use the suggestion if you want. Now, my personal preference is to not do that because it just, I think you should review them. That's my personal feeling. I don't like the concept of automatically updating an email. We do provide it because sometimes it happens a lot and people want to have that option, but it's not defaulted to that behavior. You have to specifically check for that to do that. Okay, so we can set a tag. I'm just going to use an API goal. And then if I wanted to save that into, for example, email 3, which is very rarely used. Most people will use email 1 or 2, but hardly ever use email 3. So that's kind of a best practice, is just save that suggestion right into the email 3 field. And then I would not recommend automatically updating it, but you do have that option if you so desire. Okay. Then we go ahead and create the helper. And that is all there is to it. Now, once it's created, what I want to show you here is that you have the ability to go in here and set these API goals and copy and paste them so you can deploy them into your campaign. So as I told you here, you just click on the little trophy icon for the APIs, and you'll see that you can get these API goals for valid, invalid, if a suggestion was found, and if the helper is run complete. And that's good for using API testing, just to know that everything is done and closed out. All right, and so now let's kind of jump into Infusionsoft and pull this up. Okay, so back into Infusionsoft, if we take a look at how this is kind of laid out, I've just put a quick sample campaign together for you of how we might do this. We might have a tag to kick things off, just a start campaign, maybe as something we run periodically for an admin purpose, for example. And then we would go in here and we would check an email, and so we would do that by dropping in an HTTP post snippet here, and we do that. And I like to label them my Fusion email, validate it, okay, so that it's clear what it's doing. And we're going to go back into here and close this out. We're going to copy the URL. We're going to come in here and we're going to paste that in and turn it on. Okay, and that is set up. We turn that back to draft, or turn it off draft mode and ready. And then for each one of these, we're going to go back into my Fusion Helper, and we're going to grab those goals. Okay, so email valid, let's copy that. And we'll put that here on the valid. Make sure that this is labeled for an API goal, my Fusion Helper. Okay, and then we paste that in. And then we do the same thing here. Okay, so continue it on down. This is going to be my Fusion Helper as well. And then we're going to grab the next API. This is invalid, so we're going to copy that and come back over here and paste it in. And then we'll go to this third one. We'll set that up, my Fusion Helper. And we'll switch over here and check for an email suggestion and put that in here as well. And boom, there you go. Now, when you run this, you would have, when it's all complete, you would have all these people that you could identify through the reports, and then you could manually review the invalid ones, for example. You could manually review the suggestions found if you wanted by just right-clicking on those and viewing the people that hit that goal. Okay? Very simple and straightforward. All right, so if we talk about some of the examples and best practices, one is, going to be using this in an automated fashion at the beginning of your main welcome campaign to just ensure we have a good, valid contact before we kind of trust them, right? And just start emailing them extensively, because we need to keep our list as clean as possible. So doing this at the beginning of your campaigns is a very wise best practice. And I would probably in this case just tag people that are invalid or where there's a suggestion present, and I would probably save that suggestion into the email 3 and do a manual review. But if by tagging them, I could create a little report on the dashboard for those different tags and go straight into the dashboard, see the people that are invalid, and pull them out of the sequence, stop them out of my campaign, delete the contacts, all of that right then and there, and just make it a weekly review process for someone in the organization. And you can do some more sophisticated stuff there, probably a Slack notification with our Slack It helper, or even creating a Trello card to assign a task for somebody to then go through and clean up those emails is what I would personally do, because that way I know that it's going to get taken care of and it's an automated workflow process. So this can go really good hand in hand with either Slack or Trello. Remember that the difference, Slack is just purely for notifications, whereas Trello actually fires back workflow automations just like opportunity stage moves. So as you move somebody through the different lists in a Trello, it will automatically then fire off API goals back to Infusionsoft so that we can automate around that. So the Trello is a nicer solution for a workflow-based solution, because now you can actually know that people are doing what you've assigned to them and treat it like a task or a project. All right, the second option here is just for manual email hygiene review. This is probably the first thing that everybody should do, is just go through and run their whole list through a manual email hygiene review and just verify where things are at and process it once, and then go back and do step 1, which is put it into your normal routine. All right, hopefully that answers your questions. If you have any more, make sure and hit us on the help desk at help@myfusionsolutions.com, and we look forward to hearing from you. Take care.